you doing, Sean?
Good. How you doing, man?
Just tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got to this point in your life,
Yeah.
how you grew up, a little bit about your story, stats, things like that.
Sure. Okay. I'm Sean. 37 years old tomorrow, actually.
Nice. Happy birthday.
So, yeah. I would say, as far as I don't know, growing up, is that what you want to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So grew up in Arvada, had both my parents in the household, kind of middle class family, but my dad worked really hard. Never saw him miss a day off
Nice.
in his life. I think we were in a spot where they did work quite a bit, and they also had my parents had a lot of charitable causes that they were a part of, so they were out of the house quite a bit, so it forced me and my brothers to kind of figure out life on our own. And I wouldn't say we raised ourselves, but we were put in a lot of situations where we had to figure it out.
You grew up fast.
Yeah, I would say so. It's actually kind of crazy that none of us went to jail. I tried to for a while, but never got caught, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
So grew up there. Good parents. They just, they had other things, so weren't around a whole bunch. But I think that kind of instilled in me early on to figure things out, which I think is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because I'm at a spot now where business is doing really well. I've got a team. I've got a lot of great things going for me, but I haven't really figured out the delegation part. So that's prevented me from being able to really expand and grow. I think I'm leaving a lot of potential on the table. Then again, I'm still really young, right? And a lot of years to learn and figure that out. But I think I've always had the attitude, I'll figure it out. And I always do. But a lot of times that's at the detriment of my own time and my own resources, so I don't get kind of limit myself in my growth, I think, in a lot of areas because of that.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like about you is your mindset. Like, you have a very good, positive mindset. Like, I'm getting after it. Like, I'm never going to give up, and that's one thing I admire about you. Another question is, did you go to college?
I went to college for a semester.
Okay.
One semester, and I walked onto the baseball team, had some issues, marijuana related, that coach felt I wasn't a good member of the baseball team anymore. Which is one of the things I really regret in my life. I was really talented, but I didn't have the work ethic back then. I think if I would have had the work ethic, I would have gone a lot further in baseball. But that's all part of God's plan, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I did my semester at college. When I couldn't play baseball anymore, I entered the workforce and got a job in sales, actually working for my dad's company. Learned a lot about project management. I was designing kitchen and bathroom remodels.
Yeah.
So I learned how to work with people who had a high budget, right? Like, I'm designing a $100,000 kitchen at the ripe age of 19, 20. I'm ordering the materials, I'm sourcing the materials, I'm scheduling labor and all the different trades. I'm going and I'm submitting plans to the city or the county to get permits. So I learned a lot, I think, about handling just a pretty heavy workload at a young age, which was really good experience. From there, I went, broke my dad's heart. I was supposed to be fourth generation at the family business, and I decided to take a job in the credit repair industry. At the time, I was really unqualified for the job they were putting me in. I was 24 years old and never had any traveling experience or any outside sales experience. And they gave me a territory right off the bat, and within about 6 months, 8 months, I was one of the top sales reps in the company. After a year there, I was the top sales rep for the entire time I was there. And at my pinnacle, I managed a 7-state territory. Had hundreds of clients in those 7 states, and I think that's what really helped me take my approach into real estate as an agent, and the follow-up that I did, the system that I had to stay in front of people. Because when I was back in Denver, other companies were out there meeting with my clients, trying to take business from me. So it very much was a relationship business. And that's the same thing in real estate. The average person knows 11 real estate agents. So if you're not always in front of people providing value in some form, they're going to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much they like you. So that's something I learned in the credit repair business, was to really place an importance on keeping relationships, and especially the ones that are feeding you the most. A good buddy of mine the other day was giving an analogy of a pumpkin patch, and you've got the pumpkins at the end of the vine that are growing the biggest, but then you start seeing other pumpkins start sprouting up on the vine. And if you allow those to take the time, energy, resources, it takes away from the big pumpkins that are growing. But if you trim those, it allows all the nutrients to go into that big pumpkin one. And they explode, right? Wow. And that's kind of the same mentality you got to take in real estate, in my opinion. Is there's going to be a lot of people who want to take your time, want to take your resources, and they don't really give you the nutrients that you need to grow, right? So if you really focus on those that are helping you grow your business, helping you become a better person, helping you grow in your personal life, and dedicate the time and the resources to those, that's where you're going to get the most return.
Yeah, nice. How would you go about providing value to a person who is already high value? So for an instance, Jordan Terrell.
Yeah.
He has the money, he has the relationships. How, as a young fish like me, bring value to somebody like that?
So Jordan's one of those guys that his gift is giving. I mean, I've known Jordan since long before we were in real estate. I met him in the church world, actually. I met him at a men's retreat, and so I knew that Jordan before I ever knew the real estate Jordan. But I think anytime you're in front of a big player like that and you want to gain knowledge, you have to be able to provide some sort of value, right?
Yes, yeah.
So if somebody wants to come and pick my brain, that's okay. I like giving knowledge out, but there's also plenty of videos on YouTube that'll probably answer all those questions, right? So I think anytime you are asking for somebody to feed into you, you have to be prepared to monetize that somehow for them, right? So I've got different mentors in different capacities. Some of them I pay them significant amount of money to be in their proximity. I'm not saying that you would have to go and necessarily pay Jordan, but figure out what you can do to better his world. And that's just figuring out, asking questions, learning more about it.
His pain points.
Yeah, and I would say, from what I know about Jordan, and I can't answer this question for him, but if you were to go to him and say you wanted to be kind of in his proximity, figure out what he does and be a student of that. Run with it, right? Like, everybody wants advice, nobody wants to put the advice into action.
Yeah.
And the biggest compliment he can get, because I mean, he runs a team, he's not in production.
Yeah.
His revenue, the way he lives his lifestyle with his family, is because he gives so much of himself to those around him. They produce, and by way, that brings income to him.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing you could do is figure out how to take what he's teaching and turn that into revenue for both of you.
Yeah, you get what you give at the end of the day.
100%.
You get what you give. And I think when you're providing value to high people, you have to find what are they missing. Maybe it's health. Maybe they are missing health.
Sure.
Maybe they want someone to talk to. Maybe they don't have true friends to talk to. Maybe they want loyalty. And it's asking those questions, finding out their pain points, and then providing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing when providing value to big people, but it's also hard because you see them so big, and you just have to realize they're human too.
Yeah. Well, that's your mindset, right? That's where your mindset comes into play.
Yeah.
Because you've got value, and I know Jordan's this kind of guy. I'm this kind of guy. I don't care if you've been in the industry for a day, a week, 17 years, whatever. Everybody has their own experience, and you might be able to articulate something to me, a scenario that I've been involved in a dozen times in this business. But you might be able to look at it from your perspective and articulate it in a way to me that might get me to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Right? And that's invaluable.
Yeah. And I think that's like the biggest thing too, is masterminding. Like, you could only go so far when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like,
True.
You see things a different way, I see things a different way, but how can we combine to then go forward together?
Collaboration is currency, my friend.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think that's where it's at. Is the community. Like, that's why I enjoy community so much. It's like I could bounce ideas off of different people, and I learn from him, I'm giving value to him, and we're just spiraling up together.
Yeah, I mean, look at this today. Like, we're here at my listing, right? And you're providing a ton of value to me. You're gonna come, you're gonna give me some B-roll footage, right?
Yeah.
But in addition, you're going to be able to use that B-roll footage to use you. So I hope like it's
Yeah.
you know
it's good
synchronistic,
together.
right? We're helping each other.
You're helping me. I'm
Yeah.
helping you. And together we're gonna go up together. You know
Smash
what I mean?
this. We're gonna sell this baby this weekend.
Let's go. Let's freaking go,
man.
baby.
Yeah.
What do you think separates the average human being to the exceptional human being?
Yeah, mindset's the biggest one, right? I think if you don't think that you can do exceptional things, you just won't do exceptional things.
Yeah.
And if you don't truly believe that, so your belief system is huge, and then it's action.
Yeah.
It's action, 100% of the time. I've mentored dozens of agents that come and they want to get their business to the next level, and you give them action steps. The ones that take the action steps are the ones that see the fruits of their labor. Usually not right away. Like, this is a 90-day business.
Yeah.
I truly believe what you're doing today is going to show up in the form of results or lack of results in 90 days. So what you're doing today will show up down the road. I don't think a lot of people have the discipline that it takes to consistently do it when they're not seeing the results right up front.
Yeah.
To make it to the level that they want to get to.
Yeah. I'm gonna add on to that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to take action, and yes, you do receive your fruits, because like when you plant a seed, the next day you're not gonna eat the fruit.
Yeah.
It's got to grow.
Especially what if it's an apple tree?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, that's got to take years and years
10
and years
years,
to grow and nurture.
Yeah, 100%. But I think it's the right action, because there's busy work and then there's productive work.
Oh, for sure.
So I think it's identifying what's going to move me in my business versus the back end stuff, like getting your social media up or answering an email, versus like actually going out and prospecting.
Well, and that's the stuff that, so I call it red time versus green time.
Yeah.
All right, red time, the stuff that needs to be done in your business. Okay, and where I see a lot of people fail is they prioritize that throughout the day. So getting your social media set up, setting up an email campaign, whatever it might be, going through emails, like, that's all stuff that you got to do, but do you have to do it between 9 and 5 when those are the peak hours to network with people and create relationships? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like that. So being able to separate like your green time from your red time, and that's the thing about this business especially, you're going to be front loaded with a lot of work. It takes a lot to get up and off the ground. If you're a successful agent in your first year and you're selling, say, 10 or 12 houses, you're the main marketer. You're the main salesperson. You're also the negotiator. You're also your transaction
You're everything.
assistant. You're your accountant, right?
Yep.
There's so many hats that you have to wear. I see a lot of people fail where they don't prioritize generating leads, generating more referrals.
Yeah.
It feels a lot busier to create a social media campaign where in reality you can do that late at night when the phones have gone off.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just applying your time
It's that
at the right time.
pumpkin analogy.
100%.
You're doing all these little things, but the fruit, the thing that's really going to move you, the big pumpkin, is the lead gen. It's 100%. The clients.
Well, and once you get to a spot, I mean, if you really prioritize getting new leads and getting revenue into your business, you'll get to a spot really quickly where you can offsource a lot of that red time stuff.
Yeah.
So most of that stuff is $20 an hour work. $10 an hour if you utilize a virtual assistant or somebody overseas, right? So getting your business to the spot where you've got enough revenue coming in where you can free up all that red time. If you can reclaim 20 hours in your week and apply that back towards prospecting, now what happens to your business? Triples, just like that.
Yeah. So 100%. When do you think is a good time to move your time, to start outsourcing things? When do you think is a good time to transition that?
Yeah, I mean, that's between you and your profit and loss. So one thing I see agents fail at quite a bit is doing a profit and loss. They don't know their numbers. They can't sit down and tell you how much money they made last month. They can tell you what their GCI was, right? Your gross commission income. But in reality, your brokerage is going to take a cut. Your team's going to take a cut. Part of that has to go to taxes. Plus you paid X amount for photography and gas and expenses. All the different things. I mean, we've got memberships, DMAR and CTM and our E&O insurance, like those are all expenses.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, how much money do you actually bring in that's positive net cash flow? Knowing that number, right? And then knowing, okay, what's my survival number for me to survive? it takes X amount of dollars to run my business every month, and if you run a consistent profit and loss over a 6-month period of time, you can average that out and see what your trend is. Okay, and then you figure out, okay, it costs me X amount to run my business. It costs me X amount to run my household, right? And that's knowing all of your bills like the back of your hand, writing it down. Any unexpected expenses has a category. Once you're at a spot where you're making enough to where you've put some reserves away in your business, once you've got a spot where you've got some reserves in your personal fund, and you're consistently overproducing what it takes to run both your household and your business, that's when you can start looking at, in my opinion, outsourcing.
Okay.
Some people have a different frame of mind. Jordan, to go back to Jordan, he hired an assistant the day he got his license. The dude had no sales, but he also knew how valuable his time was and where he needed to spend his time.
Yeah.
Right? So he took that method. I'm more of, hey, let's let the profit and loss determine where you go.
Yeah, it's very interesting how he kind of came in and hired a coach and hired an assistant and hired all these things, but he wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people...
I will say, I hired a coach the day I got into the industry.
Okay.
And I've always had a coach. Since day one. I think the best investment you can ever make is in yourself.
Yes.
So I have a financial system now where every dollar I earn gets cut up into 7 different accounts. One of those accounts is my proximity account is what I call it, and that puts me into proximity of people who are doing the things in business or life that I want to be doing.
Yeah, because you got to pay to get into some of these rooms.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think switching it a little bit, let's go over to the health side.
Okay.
How important is health to you? Mental health, physical health, spiritual health.
It's the number one thing, because if I'm not healthy, if my mind's not right, if I'm not physically in a good spot, then none of it works.
So what would you say to someone who's watching, who's a little lazy, their health isn't in order, their finances aren't in order, and they're just kind of confused and lost? What would you say the first couple steps would be?
I think it would be, I would ask them a question. It's like, what do you actually want in life? Because what we want, what we say we want, and what we actually want are 2 different things, right? Because if I say I want to be physically fit,
then you would be
fit. Then you would take the action that it takes to get physically fit.
Yeah.
I can go onto YouTube right now and say, how do I lose 10 pounds?
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 different recipes that are going to show up just like that.
Yeah.
Do you have the discipline that it takes to go through with it? Right? Like, I could say I want to be a 7-figure earner, but if I sit with myself in a room and really evaluate all of my actions on a day-to-day basis, am I really doing the things that it takes to be a 7-figure earner? And that's the only question. That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to, okay, you say you want these things. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to actually get it? A lot of people will say yes, but their actions will say another thing.
Yeah. And I think one thing that could be coupled with that is tracking your habits.
Yeah.
Tracking your habits is important, because if you're not tracking it, then you don't know. You don't know
100%.
where you're at. Like, if you have a habit tracker, like, hey, I did A, B, C, and D this week, then obviously you can look back and say, I had a good week.
Yeah.
Because these things got done.
Sure.
But if you didn't do these things, and maybe you felt like you had a good week, but you look back and none of these things were done, I feel like numbers and tracking.
Yeah, were you busy or were you productive?
Yeah, exactly.
Were you efficient?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's sitting down and saying, these are the steps that I need to do each and every day and each and every week to get to where I want to go, and doing it and marking it down and tracking it, I think, is an important thing.
Absolutely.
Is tracking it.
Yeah. When I was in the core training program, and shout out to the core training, they're out of North Carolina, they coach real estate agents and mortgage professionals. I hired them the day I got into real estate. I actually had to talk my way into it, because they only work with producing agents. And I had to sell my way into it. I had to name drop some people that I knew from the credit repair industry that were really big in the core to even get in it. But first thing they gave me was called the Greatness Tracker. And every day it showed you what you needed to do. I needed to have a couple face-to-face interactions with people. I needed to have a break bread, which would be like a coffee or a breakfast or a lunch with somebody. I had to have 12 meaningful conversations. I had to send 4 thank you cards. I had to track every lead that I made. I had to send out videos to a certain amount of people. I had to either organize or attend 2 events every month, right? So when I go through and I'm filling that out, and I'm filling it out intentionally, not just filling it out just to fill it out, right? Like I can call my mom and she can tell me how great I am, and I can write my mom's name on my greatness tracker.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting the most out of it at that point. But back to your point, if you're tracking everything that you're doing, then you can go back and say, okay, I did. I gave everything that I needed to do to hit this particular goal, whatever that is.
Nice. What do you, because obviously we're human and we're imperfect and we're going to fail. How do you bounce back from those failures more quickly?
So it's a mindset, right? Like, things don't happen to you. They happen for you, if that's the mindset that you take. So I've had some major failures. I mean, I'm divorced, right?
Yeah.
I have 3 beautiful boys, and I'm divorced from their mother. And I can look at that as a failure, or I can look at it as, okay, was I the partner I needed to be in that situation? How can I get better for the next relationship, right? And how can I be as great as I can be? Not only for my kids now in this role, right? Because now it's a dynamic shift for them. So how do I make sure in this capacity that I have them now, that they're getting 100% the best out of me? So from that, I've learned how to be an amazing dad, how to dedicate time, how to actually connect with my kids on each level, right? Because my oldest is different from my youngest, and my middle is completely different from both of them. Right? So I have now the skills to actually emotionally connect with all 3 of my boys, whereas I didn't have that skill set when I was married, right? Because I was working the whole time. And when I wasn't working, it was kind of, I'll wrestle with them, put them to bed. But now, I'm dad 50% of the time. I'm in complete control of what they eat, what they wear, how they act, right? Their manners, how they're interpreting work and play, and monetary things too. I show them, I invest in my kids' future all the time, and I show them every single week, hey, this is what your investment account's doing. My 2-year-old can't even say the word investment account, right? But he's going to understand it by the age of 5 or 6, and what it takes to invest in there, and then I'm going to get them on that path. So it's all, that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I had what I perceived at the time to be a major failure where I didn't make my marriage work, but it's sprouted all this beautiful stuff as a result.
Things happen for you.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah.
And you just get back on the wagon. Like, if you want something that bad, you're going to figure out how to make it happen.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So how do you go about raising kids in today's society with social media, with all these negative things that are happening, especially in the U.S., like just the different things that are happening, like people know what's going on. And how do you raise kids in such a wacky society?
So my kids are young enough to where they're not really out in society yet, but it's something that's always on the forefront of my mind. I think where they go to school is a big thing. My ex and I have we've got an agreement that our children are going to attend a private school with a Bible-based education. That's just what's important to us, and we can also see what their curriculum is and have more say in that. That's some of the stuff, like once you send your kids out into the world, you have to trust that what you've taught them inside the house will prevail over all of the outside influences. And whether that'll happen or not, I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out, but I think it's just every single day being intentional about teaching my kids the lessons that I think they need to learn in order to function in society, and not be attracted to some of the propaganda or some of the influences that we don't agree with in the household.
I think it's very strong to have those values, especially because you're planting seeds in your children.
100%.
And like you said, they're going to grow and they're going to bear fruit. And I think it's important that you plant the right seeds, because when they get into high school, they'll know, be like, hey, I have values in me. Like I have these values, and I'm not gonna portray them for just whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. And it all starts in the household as well. I mean, if you have someone who's like just not there, like if you have a dad that's not there, like you're obviously, that's gonna play an impact and a factor in the children.
Yep.
And who they
Always
are.
will. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just another thing is your mental side.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to train the mental side?
Yeah. So I feel like if I'm not focusing on my mental health, it can get the best of me. I'm pretty volatile in a lot of ways when I disregard my mental health. So yeah, first thing, I get a workout first thing in the morning, a good sweat. And that's a mental thing too, because getting up at 4:30 is not fun.
Yeah.
So many times where I want to just hit the snooze or say, screw it, we'll go tomorrow. But getting up, that's the first win, right? That's positive mentality wise. And then getting through that workout and then just kind of living by more of a structured schedule works for me.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do every single week, I've done it for 3 years, I go see a mentor of mine, Sensei James Bedwell, and I do mind coaching with him. And we talk about life, we talk about everything that's happening in life, business, parenthood, relationships, and a lot of the wisdoms that I have are because of my time with him, and we've got some really great tools to when I'm feeling overwhelmed, to where I can figure out, okay, what's going on beneath the surface subconsciously that's causing this reaction, and have the tools it takes to slow everything down. I found with me, when I move too fast, and I have a tendency to move really fast, but when I move too fast, that's when things get chaotic. And I found the more I slow down, the more I actually can accomplish. So taking specific time to invest with James, and then using the tools that I learned from him and applying it in my daily life as things are happening.
Yeah.
And then just doing a think time, trying to sit down and really dedicate time to thinking.
That's the biggest thing. That's helped me. I usually take about 30 minutes before I go to bed, just lay on the pillow and just think through my day. Like, what went right? What went wrong? What could I have done better? And things like that, just to really think through some of these things, because a lot of the times we're on our phone throughout the day, or this happens, or this comes up, and then it's family, and then it's dinner, and then it's video games, and it's all this different stuff, and your mind doesn't have time to process these things. And I think processing and taking the time to process these things is super beneficial.
Well, we're in an industry where it moves pretty fast, and like things come up, and oftentimes we feel like, oh my gosh, my clients are counting on me to have a solution for them right now. But sometimes you just don't have the solution. So many times I've had these, what appear on the surface to be these crazy complex issues or roadblocks in a real estate transaction or just in life, right? And I'm sitting there racking my brain like, there has to be a solution. I'm figuring out the solution. I'm throwing out all these ideas, and none of them just make sense. And then I dedicate some time to like, I'm just gonna take 30 minutes and chill. Not even thinking about the issue, just chill.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, boom.
Yeah.
This is the solution to the issue.
Isn't that weird?
And it required absolutely no effort. It just took me removing myself from the chaos and the pressure of that moment to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is stacking those little wins throughout the day. Like you said, going to the gym, that's a win. Boom.
Yep.
And that builds who you are. Like if you continuously do negative things, you're going to fall into a negative pattern. And negative. 100%. But it works the same way. You think positive thoughts, you do positive actions, you keep doing that, and it's just a spiral of effect. You're either going one of two ways. You're going down or you're going up.
So there's a book called The Slight Edge, and the concept of the book is, and this is one of my most recommended books. Like, I'll recommend this to anybody. The Slight Edge is taking those little things where they're mundane tasks, they're small little things throughout the day. There's things where, like, if I stop doing one of them today, I'm probably not going to see it for a while. But consistently hitting those, right? It's like a snowball.
Yeah.
And the more you roll the snowball down the hill, the bigger it gets, and the more momentum it picks up, and the more it takes on everything around it, right? It's the same concept, where if I choose to do those tasks every single day, a year from now, holy shit, I'm going to have a big-ass snowball that's taking out everything in its path.
And then you think about 5, 10 years, 15 years.
But if I choose not to do one of them today, I'm not going to see the negative effects from it today.
But you will.
Or next week or next month. But 6 months from now, like if I stop writing thank you cards, it's not going to have an immediate impact. 6 months from now, man, do I completely forget all about gratitude? Right?
Yeah.
Like, it just compounds. So it's those little things that just compound and grow and cause the momentum, and it can go in a very positive direction or a very negative direction depending on how you choose to interact with it.
Those details compound for sure. Like, I feel like if someone's not in great physical shape, they go to the gym once, not going to change. They go to the gym twice, not going to change. A week, not going to change. A month, maybe a little bit, but then you go for 6 months, and then you go for 9, and then 12, and then boom, it's a compounding.
And the next thing you know, it's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're healthier, your mind is right.
It's who you are. You become that.
Yeah, and as a byproduct, you've got a nice chiseled frame.
Yeah, and I think walking around with a good body is you're a walking billboard. It displays who you are. If you walk around,
you can look at somebody who's in really great physical shape and make a couple assumptions right off the bat.
Yeah, discipline.
Number one, they're disciplined.
Consistency.
They're consistent.
Hardworking.
Yeah, they have a sense of delayed gratification.
Yep.
Right? They don't expect the fruits of the labor right away. And yeah, you can just tell like they're wired a little bit different, and that's also why you see a lot of very successful people. Not all, there's always exceptions, but a lot of very successful people, if you ask them like what their daily routine is, a lot of them will start with some physical exercise every single day.
Yep. It's all about the systems you put in place, your actions, consistency. It's really about it.
Yep.
Time.
Yep.
That's really about it. Well, anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you have in mind?
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Like, I've only known you for a few weeks, but some of the things that I can tell about you right off the bat is your parents are amazing. They've done a really good job with you.
Thank you.
Your work ethic is incredible. At such a young age, I've really never seen anybody as eager and motivated and just hell-bent on being successful as you are. So
Thank you.
I have no doubts that here in a year, I'm going to be sitting in that chair interviewing you, learning from you.
Yeah.
And so you've got a really great gift to the world, and I love the way you're spreading it. So keep that up.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean.
Cool, bro.